Yeah, I'm just trying to think. You knew everyone in your class, and you knew people in other classes as well, although a 1 year difference was a very big difference. Someone who was a year below you, you look down on that person. Although there were some kids who started with me, and for one reason or another, they might have to repeat a class. And I don't know why they repeat. I suppose kids who had difficulty learning, they might have repeated classes, but there were others who certainly weren't stupid. But so then, like that, and in fact, one of the best friends I had, subsequently, well, he's a very prosperous businessman today, and he was an inter-county footballer, and he coached the local team to win, I think, 6 county championships in a row. So he was quite successful in what he did. But he repeated a class, and he was a class below me, but he was one of my best friends. So you didn't rise off the class below you completely. But anyhow, came time for secondary school. The Christian Brothers had a secondary school, and I think my parents had intended that I should go there, but I had my own ideas that I would like to go away. There's an Irish expression, faraway cows have long horns, and it was always, well, there is an Irish one, yeah, well, that one, and another thing, faraway hills are very green. But I manipulated things, that I went away to a boarding school in Limerick first for 2 years. It wasn't bad. First year was very good. We had someone who had just become a priest, and he was Dean of Studies. And he was Dean of Students. And we only had him for a year. He decided then he was going to go out and work in Africa. But he really was very supportive of all of the students, and he was fun. The second year, we had the Dean of Students was someone who had special pets, and that went down like a lead balloon. So at the end of that year, I manipulated things that I would go off to Roscrea. And my father was more or less amenable with that arrangement, because Roscrea was fairly close to his home place. Roscrea was, it was an interesting school. It brought kids in from all over the entire country. So today, I would say that it is exceptional if I meet an Irish person and I don't know someone who is no more than one step removed from that person. In Ireland at the time, you probably had maybe about 5 boarding schools that attracted people from all over the country. The others tended to be regional, so you got to know people from the county. But yeah, I would say Roscrea it was a school that had kind of hung together. I would say the principal reason was the headmaster. He was quite old. He died just before my last year there, and I think he was about 70 at the time. But he essentially believed that boys are boys, and he gave us a fair amount of leeway. There was a discipline in the place, but it wasn't. It was not. Well, it was not without flexibility, and if you were caught doing things that you shouldn't be doing, he didn't hold it against you, and he didn't dole out too much punishment either. So, but in a boarding school, there were 230 students approximately in the school, and we had our own groups of friends. It could be there were two that I still am in contact with. We were friends, and we remained friends throughout all my time there. Then others, it was a kind of a moveable feast. They'd move in, they'd move out, you'd move in, you'd move out. Sport was a big thing in the school. Every day class would finish, I think, about 3 o'clock. We had lunch at about, which was a midday collation. Was it? No, it wasn't. No, lunch was our principal meal of the day. But then you would go back to class for an hour and a half, 2 hours after that. And then finished, and we had 2 hours, and you were out playing games in those 2 hours. And then you had study from 5 to 7. You had your supper at 7 o'clock, after which every day we went to the chapel and we had the rosary, and after that you went back, and I think you had an hour and a half in study. So, there was 3.5 hours for study. And given that I had an aversion to study, it was kind of hard to fill in the time. I remember we had a book of English essays. I probably read every essay in that book at least 10 times, because when you were there was a priest in charge of the study, and if you were doing things you shouldn't be doing, like if you had a newspaper under the desk, and he'd come down and straighten you out. But if you had Leaving Cert prose or Leaving Cert poetry out, that was fine, that passed. And it might not be for a class subject. You didn't know what your class subjects were. But there was a lot of study. And then up to the dormitory, there was a senior student was head of each dormitory in trying to enforce that there was no talking after lights off, and that, you know, we behaved ourselves reasonably well.